Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show. It's really a delight to have you, and I hope you're well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Totally. It's well, when we met, I thought your path was so interesting, and as an interesting place to start, I thought that I would, you know, Food Network and Food TV in particular has
Mm-hmm.
gotten. I've heard so many polarizing stories, right? People who say,
Mm-hmm.
I had this opportunity and I got all this notoriety or I got access to an audience, and it ultimately gave me the opportunity to blank, launch a grocery brand, launch my restaurant, do a food truck, do whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard the opposite end where I got this call from Food Network. They told me to be on this thing, and through the editors editing my piece wrong, or they made me look like a fool, or I got knocked out too early and it was actually harmful for my reputation. And I think that there's a lot of, in the age of Instagram, right, where everybody seems to
Right.
have their own presence online, that's how Food Network, at least from what I've noticed, picks people to be on these shows now. Is
Right.
like if you have an
Right.
audience, they'll. So I guess to the person who maybe has just been reached out to by Food
Mm-hmm.
Network or is considering applying for an opportunity on TV, what advice do you have for those people?
Firstly, you've known me. Do you think I am a conniving bitch?
Zero. No. The last words I would use to describe you.
So I was called back for the show and for like one of those masters kind of chopped episode, and I got knocked out um, in the first round. And I think I was like kind of upset, or they definitely showcased me as that woman who's the angry brown woman, and who says I just said like, yeah, it's the boys club, and then they kind of just wrapped the story around that. So I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and then I got like messages on Instagram. I literally was crying. I had tears just like falling down my eyes when I would read messages like, "Yeah, serves you right. You're not as talented as XYZ, and you are yeah, you don't have half as much of the talent as he did, and he because so." From that experience, I also understood that um, the memory of the viewer is so limited. Like a week after that, I was again back to normal, and it definitely hurt me for that moment. But then people forget. So I think chefs shouldn't take these shows very seriously. And yes, it is very crucial for you to understand that uh, all these game shows it's a game show. It is not um, judging your food capabilities. Yes, of course. I mean, you are going to try and make delicious food. However, the time can get the best of you. It's 20 minutes, like for God's sake. It's 30 minutes, for God's sake. Some of those ingredients can be insane. Like for the last show, I got caviar. I got like um, pizza pockets. I got eggplant, and I got some other weird ingredient. So I
Sure.
had no idea what to do with it.
Well, it
So
also
that
doesn't
stumped me.
it also doesn't pose a generally good reflection on the things that you and I as chefs actually value, right? Like being able to
Exactly.
run a business,
Exactly.
being able to talk to a team or coach a team, lead a team. You
Hmm.
actually be able to write a menu, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all these sorts of
Absolutely.
things. So,
It's a game. It's just a
there you
little
go.
game show. It's like going on Jeopardy or something. That's pretty much what it is. And um, yeah, my advice would definitely be mindful with your words. Try to be as positive, even if you think like it's not. But if you want to drive a point, it's a great place as well. So you don't know what they're going to edit or what they're going to do at the end of it. So um,
One thing
yeah.
I've seen you do really well on the back of that whole thing is kind of,
Hmm.
and I've seen this with other people who have competed as well, is this sense of being able to cultivate an audience of your own. Because those are the people that ultimately, in a situation like your horror story, they're going to have your back, because they know you, versus the
Yeah.
people who, you know, if you're trying to build the audience from Food Network or, any sort of media project, whether
Mm-hmm.
on First We Feast or, any sort of YouTube concept or, on
Mm-hmm.
someone's podcast, like the value, and that's like these secondary motivations that I give to people
Mm-hmm.
for building an audience online. Because whether or not it's Food Network, it could be a food critic, who happens to
Mm-hmm.
go eat at your place, or an influencer who eats your food and
Right.
happens to interpret it in a wrong way, and they try to slander you. You can have all this backlog of content of like, this is what I was actually trying to do, and those
Mm-hmm.
people will have your back. So, can you talk a little bit about like, obviously most of us, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, most of us chefs who end up creating content aren't media trained. We didn't go to film school, we don't have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
degree
that's
in
right.
marketing. So like, what has been valuable for you in creating content online as a chef?
Um, I have to I have to say like hours of scrolling as well. Major addiction that I'm trying to get out of.
Keeping it real, I love it.
Yeah. So I think getting inspiration from watching others, and I think it's also like timed. I think the biggest like challenge now is like reels. It's 30 seconds. How do you create a cohesive recipe in 30 seconds? So it cannot be over like six or seven ingredients. Um, your food has to just look beautiful. And at the end of the day, sometimes I also think if you're a chef who does like extensive, elaborate cooking, um, you're maybe sometimes it's not all you may not have like 100,000, 200,000 followers, but even the if you're doing like the content that you're supposed to do, like showcases who you are and the right people see it. That's what I think about my page. I'm not there to only just have followers who are probably not helping me getting new gigs. It's also my portfolio because when I send my resume, I also have my Instagram on it. So big companies, I get hired all the time. With we all get hired all the time with the Instagram. And now that if I put like if I do the whole new nature cereal on it, it does not really add value to who I am as a chef. So when I try to create content that I believe in, that I am, um, and if I mean, I'm trying to be as consistent as I can. Of course, that's important, but I think you have to stay true to who you are and who your target is.
So much wisdom in that, from not just even your first point. Like, it seems like this thing that's like, oh well, I just look at what other people are doing, but you can't, there's no Instagram university, because whatever curriculum they set would be outdated in 24 months, so you
You're
actually,
right.
like, you actually have to look and see what's working, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the chefs that slap their food just tends to do well, whether you or I like it or not. Like, people who,
Oh,
are
really?
just violent with their ingredients, like, it happens to do well. And it's like, you can take that or leave that, but you
Right.
can't not acknowledge that it's working, to your point
Right.
of like,
Right.
I'm acknowledging that certain types of presentations or certain lengths of, food, or even like the aesthetic details that you're noticing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
all of that is important, and then to your other point of, um, whenever, there's so many people who just like, they'll reach out, or in meetings they'll say like, oh, I saw this on your Instagram. You just don't notice that. And I do it instinctively too. If I'm looking up a restaurant, I don't go to their
Mm-hmm.
Google page, find their website. I just look them up on Instagram, And so
Instagram. Right.
it's almost become this, like you said, it's your portfolio slash business card slash, So if you're looking at it as this professional thing, how can you make it the most, it's like this little thing that's always living and working for you on the internet. It's like this little, like, secretary front desk thing. Anybody who
Yeah.
comes and
Right.
interacts with you, that's the first thing that they notice. And how can you make
Right.
that the most valuable thing as possible?